Now this, again, if you could put it up on the screen, the first page is the joint stipulation regarding Newtown Greenridge interconnection improvements. This document, the first page, is Pat Lodra, Newtown's first selectman, James Gaston, its warden, the acting warden, or the warden of, in the borough, I guess, of Newtown, and also William R. Davidson, Brookfield's first selectman, and a United Water Company representative, Michael J. Pointing. So they're all parties to this. If we could bring up the second page, actually page 4, but I want to go down to a couple of the points. This is after we get through all the whereases that you see in most legal documents. Now, therefore, the parties agree to entry of a stipulation as follows. Newtown and the borough agree to withdraw any and all obligations, regardless of venue or forum, to United's construction, installation, and use as provided for herein of the Newtown Greenridge interconnection improvements. If we could bring up the next page, which is page 5, that then gets to number 2. Subject to the terms of the stipulation and approval of such restrictions by the DPUC and DPH, United agrees on a temporary and interim basis that it will not serve new customers in Brookfield and outside the boundaries of Greenridge. That, from my understanding, was initially Newtown's concern, that this then would extend to other parts. Well, the agreement states that will only go to Greenridge. So that seems to be, have met the concerns of Newtown. And then finally, I'd like to bring up the last page of this particular document, this joint stipulation, which is page 20 of the document. And there you can see the interested parties' signatures and the dates. May 9th for Pat Lodra, May 4th for James Gaston, May 6th for William R. Davidson, and May 11th for M. Painting. Do you have any comments on the joint stipulation?
Well, in the briefs that were sent to the DPUC, now PURA, Newtown is standing by this joint stipulation agreement, and they are not wavering from this agreement and what it stands for. They want to remain loyal to it, and I hope that that's the case. And I think that when you sign something and then say, well, this was before this was known, I just think this is the same. Again, I have a letter here from representing the town of Newtown in support of the last Brookfield option, or the first selectman's plan that just basically fell apart last December, right, after the meeting with the DPUC. And I have other letters here from Richard Blumenthal when the Attorney General, and when he was last year, and also from Andrew Warbeck and David Scribner, being enthusiastic about this plan. But I don't know that they really ventured into understanding the plan or really looking at the ins and outs of the plan, because there really, to my understanding, was no plan. It basically fell apart. Yeah. So you can support a plan, but you really need to know what you're supporting.
All right.
And what it represents, and all of that. And I think when you sign a joint stipulation and say that, okay, we are going with United, and then all of a sudden this other plan pops up, I don't understand how that can even be looked upon as something that is worthy of the attention. Yeah. Not at this late date.
No. And I give Pat Lodra a lot of credit. She's standing by her word.
Right.
I give her a lot of credit for that. Now, you mentioned something. Now, I don't know, obviously, anywhere near as much about the whole situation and the history as you do, but you mentioned last year from our state senator and our state representative letters in support of the first go-around with the Brookfield water option. Am I please correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't want to, mischaracterize the situation, but isn't the state representative the same individual who got, I don't know, I think it was $1.5 million or $2 million of grants that went to Brookfield Water Company?
I know it was approximately that, and I believe it was for Brookfield Water. To provide a community with water, and I just know that there was a grant given, and
but it was to benefit Brookfield Water Company then, these grants?
I can only say that I believe it is. I can't say for sure,
Okay.
because that's going, remember that being brought up in December,
Right.
and that's just like, oh my,
That's
to
a
concentrate on that, I
lifetime
need to
ago.
concentrate
Yeah,
right on
yeah.
now, and so I can't
Okay.
agree with that totally.
Again, it's just to me very curious about all the dots, and I don't know if they can be connected, but it's, as I mentioned before, sometimes your instinct on the smell test sometimes tells you a lot.
And I also, just to add to that, when I saw this on the DPC website, that Andrew Warback and David Scribner had signed, and it just said, "We write today with great enthusiasm to strongly encourage your department's serious review and consideration of the recent alternative proposal by Brookfield First Selectman Bill Davison to address the Greenridge water issues in Brookfield." But with great enthusiasm, again, what's the enthusiasm based on? And because when I spoke to David Scribner and I asked him, do you know, are you familiar with the plan? And he said, well, I'm not really in touch with the town of Brookfield. So I don't understand how you can be enthused about a plan that you basically don't know too much about. What are you representing then? I'm not sure. That was confusing.
He's not in touch with the town. Isn't he also the town treasurer?
Yes, but that, he wasn't in touch with the town that much, and that to me was confusing, and it was in a phone conversation.
Yeah.
And
have either of the lower selectmen been in touch with you, and has either been able to help in your cause in any way?
I did speak with Steve O'Reilly, and he, we talked for a bit, and he said if there's anything, to give him a call, and but I have not heard from Howard Lasser.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything that people outside of your part of town can do? Like you started to, I think, mention before. Is there a petition going around?
There is a petition going around, and I know there's been a lot. There have been things in the paper, and also numerous comments on the Brookfield patch. But of the people, by the people, and for the people, and we're standing up for what we believe in. For wherever this goes, our desire is to be heard, to be recognized, and this is about the Greenridge community.
Yeah.
And so there is a petition going around, and anyone outside the Greenridge area who is a registered voter
Now,
can sign it.
the state website that I mentioned earlier, where you can go and find some of this information, the way that I found it, and I'm not very computer literate, you can go to Connecticut.gov, then you go to departments, and you'll find it. If I can find it, you can find it. The docket number that you want to check for this is 07-04-11RE01, and you will find a lot of documents on there, briefs, documents, all kinds of things that will give you a little bit more information about this. I would just suggest to check this all out. I don't know if there's another website or whatever where people can get the facts. My concern, because I've heard a lot of stuff going on in town, and honestly, I put in hours of research because I like to know whatever I say is accurate. And I would just suggest people check out some of this stuff for themselves. You want true and reliable information, not something you heard from a friend who heard it from a friend. Not good enough. Check this out. If you could please put up our next few slides. We're kind of getting short on time here, but I do want to make a point on a docket that, or a brief, I should say, that United dated August 18th put up. Again, this is the first page. It's a brief of United Water Connecticut Incorporated joint investigation of PURA, P-U-R-A, and DPH regarding Greenridge Tax District to cease operations as a water supply company. Basically, and this is another 20-page document, basically their point is, and they mentioned back in July of last year, First Selectman Davidson testified, the goal today would be to finalize a way to provide clean water to approximately 250 families as quickly as possible and at reasonable cost. For far too long, all these individuals have been provided with water that falls below the health standards. Well, we're more than a year past that point. It's time to get some action here, and people that should get out of the way should just get out of the way. If we can bring up the next screen, which would be actually page 8. Okay, on page 8 of this document, Mr. Davidson is quoted as saying, "I've been aware of the surcharges, but it wasn't until Mr. Michelson spoke a few minutes ago that I was aware of the size and scope. What surprises me is that in the fact that they are so minimal. In the 50-50 scenario," now this is a little technical, but it's explained, the sharing, in the 50-50 sharing scenario, it's $3.60 a month. Or in the 75% sharing, it's a lesser amount. Now the proposal has actually been $12.88, but still the amount that they're quoting is not much different than what the supposed Aquarian, again, the rehash of Brookfield water plan is. Now if we can bring up the page 10, both point I think is very important to make. Both at the time of submission of the Brookfield option and the time of submission of this brief, Aquarian does not own either Brookfield Water Company or Rural Water Company. Come on. And finally, let's bring up the last page, page 20. This is again a brief from United, but it says the conclusion: for all of the foregoing reasons, the department should approve the stipulation and order that United resume its Newtown Greenridge project to bring them clean drinking water to Greenridge. However, in the event that PURA orders Aquarian to proceed, and I'll just summarize here, do they really think that United is going to eat the $1.1 million that they've already expended in this project? Please. And we're going to wrap up, but I just want to, we talked about the petition, and again, I'd like to thank Suzanne Holko for being so gracious in appearing, because I know that the show has been stressful for her. Just imagine what she's living through. On prior shows, I've asked viewers to ask the tough questions of elected and appointed officials. I couldn't make that point any clearer. Hopefully you will do that to your elected officials in Brookfield. Again, we're wrapping up. Thank you, Suzanne, for being our guest. Our air dates, Charter Channel 21, are Mondays 4:30 and Thursdays at 7. And you can find us on YouTube, www.youtube.com/BrookfieldPublicAdvo. We'd love to hear from you. Please comment. Again, thank you for watching, and good evening. Do you think that they could get any idea that I was running out of time?